Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Dave Noodles. We are on the Type 88 show where we talk to people about how they turn their dreams into reality. And today we got a special guest with us, straight out of Brooklyn. This man is no stranger to checking goals off his list. Tape after tape after tape, he's going to be talking about his newest project, how he basically started off in this game, and the come up, the rise, and how he's shining light on the underground and the world a better place. So I just want to welcome Civil to the Type 88 show. What's up, man?
What's good? What's good, Noodles? I'm glad to be on here, finally. And it's been a minute. Like I feel like we've crossed paths like very like early on and everything. So it's cool to go like full circle and reconnect and everything. So that's dope.
So you've been on the grind for a while. So for anyone who doesn't know, let's bring it back a little bit to maybe when you first found music or when music found you. Could you kind of recall those moments in time?
Yeah. I had been rapping forever, like since I was like 9. I remember rapping. My brother did music. My brother's a producer, engineer, he could sing. He was like pretty much early on, like how, there's a lot of prototypes for that now, but I feel like early on he was like had that kind of like you know, just he was very ahead of his time, I felt like. And I just used to always admire him, his people, his boys. He had a studio like my grandmother's house. Like my grandmother had the like brownstone in Brooklyn, and they had the studio in the basement, and I just always wanted to be down there. I always wanted to be a part of it, but our age difference is a lot. He's like 13 years older than me, so I couldn't really, there's a lot of other stuff going on in there that he didn't really want me around and all of that. And there was a lot of other stuff going on in the hood, like all the people that they was connected with and stuff like that. So he just basically didn't want to expose me to certain things. But I was like, so my thing was, and I was also always close to him. He's like a father figure to me, so I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be around him. So I was like, all right, well, if I can't just kick it there, maybe if I start rapping, maybe I'll be able to kick it with him and, do that. So I just started writing to myself, rapping to myself. And I didn't really get good until in high school when everybody's doing the freestyles. Like I was killing it. We did all our battles and stuff like that. And I was like nice. People knew me as being nice. But I didn't get good, I felt like, until I really started laying stuff down in the studio. And I had a mentor in my hood, this cat named Twig, who's like, we grew up together. Me and his sister were like best friends when we were really young. And, he really showed me a lot in terms of just how to record, how to get myself sounded right. And I feel like, so when people ask me where I started, it's like the long-winded is like I've been doing it forever, but the short term is like I got nice when I was like 18, because that's when I started really recording. And he hooked me up in the studio. He really was patient with me and really let me get all the kinks out, and that's when I really started to progress. So and now I've been doing it for like consistently on that type of wavelength for like 14 years now, in terms of like really building up my catalog and stuff.
I always say success happens over about a decade of
Yeah.
many long nights. Definitely not overnight, but over 10 years of many nights. So, shout out to your guy Twig and all the mentors out there. I really believe in that. It just having someone in our life that believes in us, it makes such a difference.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
you had that at an early age, coming up in the game. Just someone to be there and kind of bring you to more of a professional setting, and someone to point some things out, and what were maybe some lessons that maybe you learned from him,
Yeah.
maybe early on or even recent.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's and again, it's also a testament to like my friends around me, because I gotta include them too, because we all came up together too. And I think sometimes it's just like when you deviate from different paths, because everybody got their own place they gotta go and lessons they gotta learn. So I think that was also a big part of it. Was like, I had a lot of friends, like my man Major was also rapping at the same time, and he was doing his thing. And but we were just on diff, because I was like we talked about before, about I was doing a basketball thing, so we separated on that tip, and he was doing his thing. But a lot of them, when we talk about people believing you, like I had quite a few of my boys who all really helped me and made me feel supported, validated, because I respected their music, because we used to just always talk about music. So then they all have a high standards for artists. So when I felt like I could move them, and I felt like I could really make something that they resonated with them, I was like, okay, I'm doing good. And then that's always something that no matter what, even now, it's like if I make something that my boys rock with, then it's like I feel good, because I know that they have these standards. So going back to Twig was the similar thing, because this guy was in the industry. He was working with artists. He knew good music as well. He was a really talented artist. He's a really talented artist. So when he told me like, yeah. And the one thing that stood out to me was I remember I sent him some beats because he was sending them out to different artists. He was like, if this gets picked up, you make some bread off of this, whatever. But my beats were horrible. They were terrible. And I look back and they were just garbage. But the fact that he listened to them and it was like, you got something there. Like he didn't lie to me and say, oh, these beats are great. He didn't completely just like dump on them and like, these are horrible, these are trash. But he was like, there's something there. Like, you got to keep working, but there's something there. And that little, there's something there, helped me, give me that confidence. So that was like a big thing. It's like, that was like a big, I wouldn't say lesson to me, but it was something that was really crucial and important to me because he took the time to listen and let me know like, oh, I got places to improve. And a lot of people around me, I think that's a big thing, is honesty. It's like, you always got to trust your gut, but you got to have the people around you to really hold you accountable and really tell you, like, if they feel like you taking a verse off, or if they feel like you could have done this better, and also know your vision. Like, if they know you as an artist and they believe in you as an artist, then they know what your standards should be. So it's always good to have people around you who will push you. And that's always been a big lesson and thing for me, and I'm grateful for having, people in my circle to push me and continue to challenge me to make good music instead of placating me and be like, oh, this is hot. And because I know everything I make is not going to be hot. Everything, so that's a big thing.
That's
But
huge. And as a young artist, hearing that, it goes a long way.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and when you talk about lessons, and that's the thing that, and my man Mike, like, that's one thing he said to me that really, in terms of stuck through, because of the over years, I've known him since I was 5, so he's seen everything that I've gone through for my entire life, and vice versa. And one thing I remember him talking about, like, the idea that I've stuck with this, like, sticking with music, because in my hood, like, everybody does music, everybody raps, everybody plays ball, everybody, but there's not a lot of people that really stick through to really see through the highs, see through the lows. And one thing that really stuck with me, was we talked about that, and it was like, you take these losses and these lessons, and most people would fold under those things, because I've made so many mistakes in music throughout the years, because there's no roadmap. If you don't have like an A&R behind you, a label behind you, or somebody who's going to tell you like, okay, leave you to the roadmap of this is what you're supposed to do. I was, and the thing is, and in a lot of ways, I was like the kind of leader around my peoples that we was all, because I had a group of people that we all doing music, all creatives, but I was the one who was always putting out the content, making sure my stuff got finished. Whereas like, a lot of people were building their stuff to get along, it was like a reliance on me to get my stuff out there to help. And in that, it was like I had to learn and struggle and make so many mistakes. And then, you get the brunt of the blame when something goes wrong, or you have to be prepared to deal with that. And so it's hard, but those losses and those lessons and putting X amount of dollars into this and this not panning out, thinking you have this record and it doesn't go the way you thought, it sucks, but it definitely helps as you go along and as you build. And that's one thing that I've always, or not always because it's a struggle, but you take it in stride. I've learned to take all those things in stride and let it not only help me further along, but help other people. So when I'm building with other newer artists or other people starting out, I could really help them a lot more, because I'm like, well, I could tell you all the things you don't want to do. We can start focusing on the things you should be doing, and things that I'm doing now that if I did 10 years ago, I'd be, way further along. So, it's a process.
I always say, bad hour doesn't equal bad life. Bad day doesn't equal bad week.
Yeah, because you figure, in terms of what I think 168 hours. So if you have 24 of them, that's bad. You still got, 144 hours or something like that, left to, yeah, for sure. And I think and also I feel like it's like I think this whole past couple of years with COVID now has definitely shaped how I feel like I personally have viewed things, and I think you learn what really is important and what really matters. And I think it's helped me be in a more healthier state of mind with regards to music and art, because it's like, we get so caught up with the internet, social media, with streams, with this and this. You get so caught up in numbers, and you got to do this, you got to do that. When the reality is like, you can build a successful base for yourself. You can have that support without having those crazy numbers. There's so many opportunities that, if you really hone in, you could lock on. And then it's also like, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for the gratification of those likes and numbers and streams? Or are you doing it because this is art you believe in? This is art you love. This is something you want to impact people, because You know, if you're impacting 50 people and those 50 people really appreciate what you do, then you're a success. Like you're doing something impactful because those 50 people are going to take whatever you've impacted them with, and that's going to spread to throughout their lives and stuff like that. So, you know, I think focusing more on the impact and what you're doing the art for, and not, you know, a lot of times I feel like, especially with the way the machine of the industry is, you have to have a certain look, you have to make certain records, and or everyone feels that way. When the reality is, like, you know, you can still build success for yourself doing your thing in your own niche and everything. And that's been another lesson. It's like, you know, focus on the art that you love, because that's sustainable, right? Like if you're doing stuff that your heart is not into, people are going to eventually see through that. You know, you might get
Yeah.
some type of success, but it's not going to be the success you want. And you know, it's more important to me to just really do what you believe in, and that shines through. And we've seen examples of that with a lot of artists who stay true to them and have carved out their own lanes, you know.
It's a fact. Yeah, there's so many exterior things, and I think what you said, really digging deep and figuring out what's important to you is so important.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just tap in, and I believe why I started anything, it was because I loved it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't because it was going to be the next thing, or if I'll do this for it to receive this. Of course, when you step into the arena of that world or that atmosphere of what you're making, those distractions or those goals could come, and it's like, well, how do you filter it? How do you look at it in a way where, okay, you got 1,000 hits, you wanted 1,000,000, and how do you find that happiness? So
Mm-hmm.
how have you been kind of able to filter it out? Because you seem, very, like you figured yourself out. You know what's important. Was it that a journey for you?
Yeah, for sure, it was a journey. I think early on, it's like I've gone through these ups and downs, where it was like when I was younger, because like right when I really got into it, social media wasn't as prominent as it is. Like when I really started dropping my projects, Instagram wasn't available for Androids. It was only an iPhone app. So not everybody, so Instagram wasn't that crazy. Twitter just had started. It wasn't that big. So like there wasn't that same type of pressure to be like, I need to go viral. I got to do this. It was like, I'm going to do music I love. And it was very pure early on. And then I started getting more popular on social media through all like, because I am, on Twitter, I built a following because not intentionally, just because I'm very passionate about things I believe in. So I would talk a lot about different issues, socio-political stuff, you know, gender, race, just a lot of things. Basically, to me, what I feel is like human rights stuff, like like voicing for people who, you know, go through different things. And that built me a following. And then on the superficial side, I had the beard, I grew my beard out, and there was a whole bunch of that. So there was a lot of gratification from that, and people like going viral from pictures and the superficial element. So, but neither was from the music initially. And I felt the pressure to like make music to get all these people who are following me now to get on board. And I started deviating a little bit from what I really believed in as an artist to do that. And the gains weren't really there as much as I would hope. And I spent a lot of time just trying different things, trying to grasp that when that's not really what I wanted. So it was rough. And eventually, you know, I think last year is when it really just clicked and I kind of let go, because um my album B26, I think, is a great album, my first album that I made 2017. And it it was great, except I felt like I added a couple of songs on there for the sake of, oh, these songs should take off, this is what people want to hear. And I think I would have strengthened my album, and my album would have been like flawless had I just taken those two songs off. So that was bothering me. And then uh not last year, this wow, with COVID, everything is like, you know, those
Yeah.
2021 comes you know, is plugged together. But anyway, that summer last year I did New Vanguards, and I just kind of let go. And that was like my most raw album, just not making songs there because this is going to be a hit or this is going to be, it was my raw, like, because of everything that had been going on that summer with everything. I just wanted to really just put out there my, like, just raw state of how I was feeling. But I also didn't want to capitalize off of the movements and things that were going on. I didn't want to just drop an album. It's like, oh, everyone's protesting, let me drop an album and do that. That didn't sit right with me either. So I donated every proceed from the sales to different organizations that I believed in, that I knew were doing work for, you know, different groups and stuff. And I felt 100% okay with that. And I didn't expect the album to go crazy, because I knew it was very like, you know, super radical, super hard on that end of the spectrum, and I know it wasn't gonna be for everybody, but I made peace with like this is what I'm feeling at the time. And the fact that I was able to, use those proceeds to help people and do stuff, that was like, okay, you know what, cool. And then this year, I had one of my songs picked up and got played on this show David Makes Man. And it just is like another thing. It was like, okay, you don't have to like be on the radio 24/7 to be making money, to be successful. You don't have to do certain things. There's a lot of other opportunities out there. So I think that those two things really just like opened everything up for me. And now I'm in a position where like I'm coming back full circle to this Uncle Billy tape project, because that's where I was like my most happy, because that was like a love story to my community, love story to like my family, telling their story. And now that I'm really comfortable where I'm at, I feel like I can take on that story a little bit more, because there was a reluctancy when I was younger to say certain things, but now I feel free and I'm excited about moving forward in that direction with that project. So
That's exciting, man. It's just great to hear your growth and your evolution and how you just became more and more comfortable as you dug deeper within yourself, and it's just it's inspiring to hear. Like, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. This is I want to capsule this moment. I want to share it. Likes, streams or not, this is what matters to me, and I want to share this. And then, and I think it's a sense of relief when you have all these pieces of art inside you, and then you let it go, and you
mm,
just it kind of you lose some weight that you're holding, and then you could kind of bring new things in, and you could kind of open your mind to sharing new stories. I feel like the more stuff we keep in us, it prevents us from dropping new stuff. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for sure.
And
Yeah.
I think it's great that you were able to capture a moment like that, and how especially voice your opinion on it, and voice your thoughts, and share it with the world. So that's a beautiful thing, man. So let's get right to it with the new project, the Uncle Billy tape, Ilio Snow. Maybe you could kind of talk us about how all this came together. I know you've done a few Billy tapes before, and then
Mhm.
we could talk about the new project.
Yeah, so this is like, to me, this is the series that I feel like, definitely as I go further along in my career as an artist, I'm gonna remaster those first two projects, do something with them again, because I think this is a very defining thing for me. The Uncle Billy tape comes from a place of like, just, it's really, like I said, it's like a love story to my family and to my hood. Like, I I made this. The first project was like late 2012, early 20, and I dropped it 2013, and I dropped it late 2013. And there was a time I was still in school. I was so hopeful. My neighborhood had becoming gentrified. A lot of people been being forced out, but there was still like an era of like aura of like hope and feeling of like, you know, yeah, this neighborhood's changing, but we're still here. And I want to continue to tell our stories while we're still here, because if you don't, then whoever comes in is just going to rewrite, the stories now that, because even in Bushwick now, the narrative of Bushwick is very different. Bushwick and Williamsburg is very hipster, very, so the whole like the characterization of the hood has changed. So like I wanted to get that time capsule and write, and a project and that represented that, but also something that drew parallels between my life and life in the 70s and 80s, from where my mother and my uncle were growing up in Williamsburg, because they grew up, in when Williamsburg was like the hood, just like they were 16 people in two apartments in Williamsburg, and that house now is worth like I think $3 million, something like that now, which is crazy compared, like it was a slum when they were there. So I was like, I wanted to tell this story of like, my family and my hood, and draw these parallels between me and my uncle. Because there are a lot of different life choices and things that he's made and things that happened to him. And so the album is both like cautionary, but it's also like hopeful. And because despite whatever things that he's done in his life and mistakes or whatever, he still dropped so many gems and inspired me. And the music is, we sample for that project, and for all of them I sample a lot of 60s and 70s music, some early 80s, but it's from that era of their era. And because my brother was hip to a lot of records, we got like my uncle and my brother got about like 2,000 records in the basement back at my grandmother's house, so that's like been such a big influence for me. So the whole album, all the tapes were all soul inspired and very much in that vein. So that's how it came about. And this third one, so the first two are very similar, similar sonically, similar in tone. This third one, I decided to veer a little bit away, especially because the last album that I dropped was so, again, so much more on the raw, emotional, angry, a lot of like just a lot of other stuff. That was like, okay, now I want to show a different side of me, and have fun. And so this project incorporates Ilio Snow, who is a character based on these stories and these things that really happened that, I was told as we got wild stories and things that, typical 80s high life, living fast, doing craziness. So like, I was like, I adapted the Ilio Snow persona to tell some of the things that I didn't feel comfortable telling as straight Uncle Billy tape. Like I didn't want to put all of that on my uncle, on all that my family, something. But if I could create another character that can encapsulate these stories, then it's just like, okay, he'll get the strays, he'll get everything, because it is Ilio Snow is a wild character. Like, so it separates everything, but it creates a more fun dynamic for me. And I based them on some like a black exploitation 70s like Mac character, like or Carlito's Way, Benny Blanco, but also like those Billy D. Williams characters and Willie Dynamite, stuff like that. So it's very exciting. And
Cool.
so the album is gonna be half me, half Ilio. Whereas like me is gonna be very community minded. It's still same Uncle Billy tape stuff, like telling those stories from our hood, the hope, the dreams of that, my story. But then Ilio is gonna tell his story and talk about all the wild stuff. And so some of the more fun records are gonna come from his end, but also some of the darker records are gonna come from his end. And then I'm here to promote that balance. So I'm very excited about that. And it's been fun doing like the freestyles as Ilio and stuff like that, doing all the photo shoots and everything. So I'm definitely excited.
That's exciting, man. I love that about music. You could really just we see it all the time. Alter egos.
Mm.
People create. You could transform.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because like
It's so
again,
cool.
like you got like a Wu-Tang, like to shout out to Shaolin, like Ghostface got the Pretty Tony stuff. Ghostface got the 12 ways to die, I think, stuff with Adrian Young, like that stuff. Ghostface is one of my favorite rappers. Like I have him probably my top 3, top 4 all time,
Yeah.
maybe top 5. It's arguable, but Ghost. So that and Wu-Tang, like all of them have their other persona. You got Lex Diamonds, you got, so like that's a big influence in me too. It's like to channel that, and I really want to go all the way with it. So yeah.
That's sick. Yeah, I think it's just cool to you could create a world with your writing, and
Mm-hmm.
we've seen it with our favorite comics. We've seen
Yeah.
it with our hip hop, and it's just dope that you hold this power where you could just take people to a new place. And that's I'm really excited because you're gonna take people kind of to the past, and then you're gonna be Ilio Snow too, and it just I think it just gives you a chance to flex in multiple ways, and you especially flex your creativity and just have fun,
Yeah.
and to tap into the nostalgia of your family. There's like nothing deeper, nothing thicker than that. To
Mm-hmm.
tap into those memories, and especially where they grew up, and your mom and your uncle, and the things that they've been through, and talking about how the hood changed. These are important things to talk about. So
Yeah, I also want to see where this Ilio, character goes, and how we could really continue to develop it, because there's so many stories, and because a lot of it is based on my uncle's stories. And if anybody, like, he's one of the most charismatic people I've ever encountered in my life. If you ever get the chance to hear him tell a story, it's just so magnetic and draws you in. And sometimes you'd be like, oh, I don't know if that's true, or you feel like he's lying, and then you go and find something. Like I remember him telling us about a Ford model that used to write him letters and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's mad random. And then one day we're going through the photos and we see this letter from this like model, like writing him, talking about how much he loves him, all this. And then there was another thing about a club where you needed it was called the Starship Enterprise or something like that in the 80s. And you needed a special galactic ID to get in. And he told us about each floor, how it was crazy. And they're like, yo, that sounds mad wild. And then we Googled it and we saw the galactic ID. And so I was like, okay, this
yeah,
guy's not like, so maybe some stuff might be out there, but a lot of the stuff he's saying is true. So we're still trying to develop what else we want to do with it, because I feel like the character itself has so much potential. So it's like I don't want to limit it to just an album. To me, this is like performance art. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like, I really feel like it's performance art, and I want to expand it as many different ways as I possibly can. Um,
That's exciting, man. That's exciting. And who are some of the folks that have helped you make the beats, or have you who've been working on the production
so
side of
I,
things?
yeah, so I produce all my work. I do everything.
Sick.
And then, again, I got my peoples, my man Rue, Mike, my man Shoot, my girl, like everybody, they give a lot of input and feedback and really help me kind of, I go through the samples, I go through, and I'm probably gonna get a couple folks together that I really admire their taste, and just kind of, get a little, like, basically like a, just a session of just listening to different joints, and seeing if there's any other things I could sample that could really like bring this project together that I haven't touched yet. But I do all the production, I do all the writing. Um, that's been that way for like years. I think every project I've done so far is I've produced everything, wrote everything, with the exception of the features of the different artists.
What's your go-to equipment? What have you been working with,
Yeah,
and what are some of your essentials?
it's crazy because I used to, because of my brother, like I used Reason forever, and Reason got outdated, and they got kind of fell behind. They've just updated everything now because they realized they were falling behind. So I hear like what they have now is a lot better, but I was using like really like outdated stuff for years until 2018. I started doing using native instruments. So I produce all my beats on Machine, with our, and it has like, I got an MK3, which is like a drum kit, and then a keyboard, native instruments keyboard. So it's pretty much all native instruments, and then I do everything in Pro Tools. So I record out of Pro Tools and stuff. But that machine is just great because it makes sampling so much easier. I can really get into a groove with it, and it's so versatile that it's really
Yeah,
opened up a lot of things for me. So I love it. I swear by, native instruments and Machine. Like,
that's exciting, bro. This album got me feeling like it's a movie on the way. You
yeah,
know, it's gonna be dope.
that's basically what it, because if like, if you, I don't know if you remember like American Gangster, like Jay-Z's
Yeah,
American Gangster, how much of a story it was. I love albums like that, like Kendrick's Damn, or Good Kid Mad City. Even Good Kid Mad City made me like reevaluate everything because of just how flawless of the storytelling. And I love that. Like, that's why I don't want to be a pretentious rapper where I'm like, I'm not a rapper, I'm this, but I do feel like it's limited to just an album when there, like you said, it's like it feels cinematic, and that's what I really want to display. Like, I really want to give it pay it the service it needs, because there's a story there. Like, early on, even the way the tracks are structured right now, it's like I give you the overview of me, and then I give you the overview and intro of Ilio Snow, and then we go through his process, and we go through the ups and downs, and I explain towards the end of the project why I'm bringing those things together. And it is very cinematic, and I really want to do something, whether it's like visual with it. Like, I want to figure out, telling a story visually with it, because I think it could be really dope doing something with that. But yeah, it's exciting, and again, it's like about, I think, paying it forward with the culture. There's so many of our influences, like you grew up within this hip hop culture, of like things that I feel like have been lost along the way. Like the artistry is being lost, at least in the mainstream. Not, underground, of course, there's always going to, but definitely in the mainstream, the artistry is being lost. It's being very much like copy
yeah.
and paste, like, type thing. So yeah, I'm excited to really find a way to showcase that.
I'm hype, man. I'm really hype about this. What were some of your albums growing up that were like your classics? Like they like changed you. As hip hop fans and hip hop kids, like we have albums that,
Mm-hmm.
like I have some that I may say them and people be like those, but like they were what I needed in that moment of my life to get
Yeah,
to the next moment of my life. Like College Dropout was everything for me.
yeah, for sure.
Eminem Show was
Mm-hmm.
everything for me at that moment. For me, I needed it to get to where I was. I was going through a crazy summer,
Mm-hmm.
and that album got me through.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of yours that were
it
just
it
like your essentials?
Yeah, it's tough because it's like there's like kind of two categories of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And then there's different points in my life. So it's like I would say there's that category of like got me through, like what you're saying in terms of like help me just like kind of like survive or make it through and inspire me in that way. And then from an artist standpoint, there's albums that shaped me. And I think College Dropout is one of those that fits both of those. Whereas like I heard College Dropout because that was summer G Unit was like taking over. And I was like, I'm in the hood, like I'm, all this, my, we around all the stuff that's going on. I'm not necessarily doing the stuff that's going on, but my people is, all this stuff. But I'm not like that's not my, I'm not on some like thugged out, wave like they are, like G Unit. So it's like I was rapping, but I was like, I don't know if this is for me because and because that was in a city, people who are not in New York don't really realize how big G Unit was when they hit the scene, and everybody was on that hood stuff. Everybody, it was wild. So, but then Kanye came along, and I was like, oh, because and I knew about Tribe, Gangstar, all these people. My brother put me on, but like from a contemporary perspective, where the hip hop was so narrated by hip hop was so taken over by all this like super hardcore rap at that point. Kanye coming out with the polos and rapping about being in college and doing all and this type of stuff. I was like, yo, this is different. And he produced his own beats and he was soulful. And I was like, wow, I could do this. Like that was like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think 6th or 7th grade. And I was like, yo, I can do this. And so I'm always grateful for that project. But so that was one of them. And then when I was playing ball away at school, I was really going through it. It was I'm not a big fan of Massachusetts whatsoever. I was out there. It was a struggle. But two albums that helped me get through, and I don't know what I would have done without it, was American Gangster and Graduation. American Gangster just put me in that space where like, because especially those first couple of tracks, like American Dreaming and like dealing with not being happy with your present state and the things that you're going through and pushing through. That album, like there were times I'll be on that bus going home with like tears in my eyes listening to that album because I felt like I had somebody like Jay, because Jay had retired previously to that. Then Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come was okay. So when he did that, I was like, damn, Jay is back. And I was like, I was glad that he was back because I needed him to be back at that moment because I
Yeah.
needed that, especially I was away from New York. I needed that Brooklyn, like real like story and also the inspiring element of it. And then the artistry. And I was like, wow. So, that album really was one that just impacted me. And, and College Dropout was the same way. I thought it was Graduation. I thought it was a
Graduation
beautiful
was
album,
everything. Oh man, that
you
was
know,
everything for me too.
yeah. So and of course I got my favorites. Of course I got all my favorites and classic albums, but those two, those three albums really helped, shape me. And then like from a rap perspective, like Capital Punishment, Big Pun was like one that really helped me as a rapper because I was like, this guy's nice. Like I want to. This
You
is how
wake
I want
up.
to rap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hearing that, I think what was it like 98,
98.
97?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That
then
was
and then
that
my
was a great
man's
year.
it's such an underrated year in hip hop, I feel like, because like people look at I think 96, 93, 91, but like 98 had I think it's called Moment of Clarity from or Gangstar, had Outkast, had Hard Knock Life,
Yep.
had I
Did,
had Capital Punishment.
didn't Lauren Hill too? I
Oh
think.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
was Miseducation
Was it?
98? And if it was, then yeah. So it's like because even that was like my first real rap album that I would listen to was Hard Knock Life. So like that
Mm,
was an amazing time, like timepiece that era. So yeah, there's a lot of albums though.
yeah, yeah. That's
That's the thing, and I wish and again, it's like, and I feel like we're getting away from that, unfortunately, more and more because of the way all this like fast people are putting out albums so fast. They're putting out like it's just and albums are starting to feel like a collection of songs as opposed to like what you're saying, cohesive project to tell a story. And
yeah,
I'm not gonna ring my finger at any other artist or whatever because everybody can do whatever. But it's like for me, it's like I'm in that same vein. Like I remember 808s and Heartbreaks when I was like I listened to that album first. I hated it. Then I went through a breakup around that time, and I was like, "Wow, this is a masterpiece." And I
yeah.
can remember exactly where I was because I listened to that, and it was a Ti versus I think Tip or whatever.
I
And I was
remember
listening
that
to
one too.
both of those around the same time. I remember being in my mom's kitchen, bumping, and so I get you exactly where you're coming from with that. And I think it is important because these albums, tell stories. And I also think like those are the ones that last, right? Like if you look at like really cohesive albums, like 444 came out in 2017, you could still play that album today, like no problem,
Yeah.
because it's a classic in my opinion. And you have, that's why I think Cole is so successful because his albums are really solid bodies of work. Same thing with Kendrick and a lot
Yeah.
of these other artists. So I think that's really important. Still there's still a space for albums as
Oh
much as
yeah.
people try to diminish that.
as we were saying, they're time capsules. And I think it's a beautiful thing what you're doing with the Ilio Snow album. You're capsuling a moment now, but you're also taking us in a time machine back to a certain time, and then
Mhm.
you're creating a story for us to remember now too. So I'm really excited about this project, bro.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I am too, and it's that's the thing. It's like I feel like that parallel is really interesting because again, I believe to know where we're going, you got to know where we came from. You got to, and it's to bring all these things together and to really showcase this. And then again, we get away from a lot of it too. As trends come and go, like there's certain elements of hip hop that I feel like, this is still valid. This is still important. These are still things that you know that's timeless. Like I don't think certain things are dated. Like I don't think soul samples are dated. Like if you could flip, because a lot of artists that still do it, that do it really effectively and do it ill. So, it's really important to not only but I also don't want to cosplay as like a '90s rapper, right? Like I don't want to do that, like and just give you like straight '90s rap or whatever. It's like I want to, I think there's a lot of artists that do it well, where you encapsulate those influences and then you push it forward. And it's dope to even see like these people, like listening to Nas, listening to how they've progressed over the years, how their sound has progressed over the years, where they're not stagnant and they're still current, continue to grow. So it's a lot of it's exciting.
Yeah, I love that. So I had to train myself be, to kind of be like, wait, this is a completely different Nas. It's
Mm,
still the homie I grew up with, but yo, he's evolved. He's
yeah.
late 40s now. Like he's not young 19 trying to get on Nas. Same
Hmm.
with M. So there's always this. I miss the old Kanye, but then I love seeing what he just did. He literally just dropped the deluxe album of Donda today.
Mm,
With like 10 more tracks, and it's just
mm,
like as an artist, I just respect it. I love the evolution. I love seeing. You could literally look back and from album to album, you could almost remember that whole cap of time.
hmm.
And the albums will never go out of style for me.
Yeah,
they're
no.
everything.
And the good ones stand the test of time. Like the
Yeah,
true, you'll always be able to go back to, like, that's where you really know. Like I feel like I hate when people talk about something's a classic when it drops, because it's like we don't, you got to give it a month, give it not even a month, but give it a month to see if you're even going to listen to it after a month. But give it a year, give it 2 years and see, because that's where you really see. And that's
yeah,
what I'm striving for. Like I want, like when people go back to Uncle Billy tape to listen to it and be like, wow, this is, you know, because for me it's raw because I'm still really young as a rapper, but it's like, but the sound, the stuff that I'm saying on there, like I know I still listen to songs on that album and I get chills myself. Like the outro on that, I get emotional almost every time I listen to it because I feel where I was at. I feel everything I'm saying, and even if I wasn't me, I feel like if I was an outsider listening to that and listen to someone write like an ode to my neighborhood, like the things I was saying, I would feel emotional listening to it if it wasn't me. And I think, so those are the things I strive for, to put my heart into what it is that I'm saying, what I'm doing, and really, give that, not for the sake of just putting out records. Cause rapping is easy. I could rap, all the time. I can write 10 songs tomorrow, but it's about like the impact of how you feel and what you're saying and not phoning it in. And, so that's really important to me. And, what I really want to translate with this project, especially with this Uncle Billy tape stuff, because it's important to me. I'm a fan first, and I feel like as a
yeah,
fan first, I don't want to, I can't phone something in because I know how I feel. Like that's why even with my performances, it's important to really go hard when I perform, because I've seen a lot of these artists. I've gone to different shows and I was like, yo, this is what people are paying for this, and it's like you got like 8 people on stage with you rapping the same song. You're not rapping over instrumental or band or nothing. You're rapping over your vocals. It doesn't sound good most of the time. Like a lot of times, a lot of artists are up there either drunk, high, and not. It's like, yo, people are paying a lot of money. I would kill to be in that position. And it's just like, so
yeah,
for me, when I perform, whether it's 200, whether it's two, I'm going in, and I'm, because I want people to have an impact and a connection, because I think that's what art is, fostering connections, whether it's albums, whether it's performances. And I know, like, when I go to see shows, like that's why, like, I'll go to see the same artist multiple times, because I know at least they're gonna give me a show. They're gonna really put forth that effort, and that's big. Like really seeing good performers. So again, it goes back to hip hop, like MCing, like and I think so that's important too, along with the albums and stuff. It's just like that, really connecting with your audience.
Oh yeah, yeah. Performance, concerts, the live show. I'm just hyped. The first concert I'm going to in over 2 years. I'm going to the Jizza, Raekwon,
Oh, nice,
Ghostface next Monday.
nice. That's
So
tough.
at the door waiting to go to something, and it's been a long couple years, and I'm like, yo, I'm going to this,
Yeah,
and it's just everything to go to a show. I've been blessed. I've been able to go to over 100 concerts and
mm,
all over the country, and I've seen them. I've seen Kanye, the graduation tour, and
mm,
oh man, but I've seen Jay like 5 times. Just it's everything, and
yeah,
so I'm hyped, man. When you have that release party, please let us know. Excited, man. It's just great to hear all these stories, man. You know how much you really care about your craft, the thought process, how important sharing your family stories are, and capsuling moments of your feelings and your vibe with the world. It's just
yeah. It's been dope. Yeah, because it's like I think that's another. It's weird because people see, especially if anybody who follows me like on Twitter or anything like that, it's a lot of times or any it's like because I'm so outspoken about that. I've always been this way around my friends. I used to annoy my friends all the time because I'm very much outspoken about things I believe in, and sometimes to a fault, but that's who I am and I can't change that. And now it's like getting back into that with the music and really just like say what you feel because you know as long as as long as I feel like as long as it's real and what you feel and everything, you can stand on those things because at the end of the day, that's your heart. And so when people see me, is everybody like, oh, you always so serious? Oh, I think you, when I meet you, I think you're the serious guy that this. And I'm like, it's not even the case whatsoever. It's just, I get it because of, online, social media. So it's like, I'm excited to be able to showcase these other things because I feel like once people really get to know me and what I'm about, they're like, oh, this guy is like a lot different than what I thought he was. So,
yeah.
it's always good to get to chop it up with people and really build because I'm like, yo, there's a lot that I'm just like, that just from whatever posts and in passing that you're not really going to get. And that's why I'm also trying to connect those other sides with this music as well. So people get more of that picture.
Which leads me into my next segment of the show. This is a new game that we've been playing on the show. It's called Dream On. So how it works, I pretty much will ask you a dream related question, and all you have to do is let me know the first person or thing that comes to your mind based on the question. We'll get right to it if you're ready.
Cool, cool.
All right, cool. So if you could remix any song of your past catalog or future, what song would it be? And if you could have anyone on as a feature for the remix, who would be on it?
Damn. Once you added the feature, it's tough because there's so many. Ghostface always comes to mind for so many records that I do that I'm like, man, I would love Ghostface on, especially like this project, the Uncle Billy tape. I would love to have Ghost on there. Like, so like, there's like, I would say, which I could, what one I would want to remix is a song called Never Left because it's like I like the point of it. I like what I was about, but it felt dated at the time. And the sound, well, not at the time, but now it feels a little dated. And I'm like, I could revisit that and do something iller with that. And so I would definitely do something else with that. But I would say um definitely Ghostface. And if I could remix probably Civil Sopranos. I would love to throw Ghost on there. That would be crazy.
Sick.
Yeah, that's tough though, because yeah.
If you could open up for any artist on their upcoming tour, who would it be?
Hmm. Um, I think I'm like in terms of thinking about sonically and fan bases and stuff like that. I think I like what Tyler's doing, like Tyler the Creator. I feel like I'm I feel like that would be dope, like being in a space to open for somebody like him. Because I think in terms of fan bases and where I want to be as an artist, I feel like we have a similar like type of audience that I would love to. I feel like his audience will really get what I'm trying to do, and I'll
Yeah,
be like, I think that would be fun. So yeah, like he's definitely one of them, sure.
yeah. He comes correct, man. And the new
Yeah,
project is sick.
yeah. I love his sound.
If you could visit anywhere in the world, budget doesn't matter. Where would you go tomorrow?
That's tough too. Um, I mean, definitely right now, Italy for sure. Just because I love food, I love food.
Oh
I
yeah.
love like, and I really want to. I've been wanting to go to Italy. Italy. I haven't been to Europe, ever. So definitely Italy is like right now, like would be the first like go to.
Sick. If you could roll up to any car dealership tomorrow. What whip would you get, old school or new school?
So this is tough, right? Because like I have this discussion with my girl all the time because both of us have the same dream cars that we want. So we
Word.
both want a G wagon. We both want a Jeep, like a Jeep Wrangler, where we take the doors off and all of that. So it would
I
it
actually
would
want a
be
Jeep too.
yeah. It's like they're so tough. Like
Yeah.
I don't remember like New Jack City, the silver one that they had. That is so fire. Like so, it would be one of those, and yeah, it would be one of those for sure. Or if it was just I've always loved like that Porsche, the Porsche 911 Sport or whatever. Like that joint has always been one of my dream cars. So like I would say that those out of those three, I'll go with the G wagon though. I'll go with the G wagon, but yeah. Mm.
So that's why I like having these convos, and I encourage other people to have these with each other because you never know who you're talking to, and your dream may seem a little crazy, quote unquote,
Mhm.
but I think it's only crazy if we don't talk about it.
The other aspect, right, is like it could be limiting. You limit yourself when you limit your dreams and you limit, and you say like because I remember there was a period of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I just want to be able to do this. And like, even like talking to my therapist about it, it's like, why are you selling yourself so short off the jump? And then it's like that line, right, of like you shoot for the moon, you miss, you're still amongst the stars. If you're shooting for like a C average and you miss that, now you in the D minus, D plus, whatever C minus territory versus if you shoot for an A plus and you get an A, you've still gotten very far. Like you still
Yeah,
put
yeah,
because that's where your goals are. Your goals are bigger than what. So I stopped limiting myself in my dreams, like because I have my rap bucket list. Like I have my like I want to be on a track with Ghosts. I want to do these things. Like I've and there's certain things I've checked off that list and stuff, but there's others like I need to do that flex freestyle. Like as somebody who grew up in New York and hip hop, like that heyday of the '90s, like wherever that all that stuff stands now, it's like I don't care. I want to be on that flex doing a freestyle. I want to perform at the Garden. Like if you and as SOBs, like these are things that are like these are for me. That's what like because as a student of like New York hip hop culture, it's like I want to check these off to be like I did all these things just as all these legends and everyone past before me has done. So yeah, I don't think you gotta limit yourself at all. It's just like especially with the way the world is shrinking now, and like you said,
yeah,
you don't know who knows this person, you don't know how this. There's a lot of stuff because even with me, like the people I've come across who have helped me along the way and being connected with others, it's crazy. Like I would have never thought this person knew this person who could plug me here, who could do this, and like some of the opportunities I've been afforded. So I agree 100%.
yeah. You kind of beat me to one of my next questions was if you could perform anywhere in the world. You kind of just beat me to it.
Yeah, it's definitely would be. Yeah, it would be the Garden for sure.
Yeah,
I just think just in terms of like the history again as a Knick fan, and the history of New York and the city, and it's like what other place, like that's the Mecca. Like I want to be there. Like even as a basketball player, I never got the chance like to play on the Garden floor or whatever. So like that's like to perform there is like anywhere in the world. It could be any. I would choose. I definitely choose the Garden like over anything.
that's fire. This would probably be my last one. If you could talk to anyone who's no longer with us and you could have a conversation with them,
Mm.
who would you talk to?
Yeah, that's tough. Honestly, it's always been honestly it's not as I would say definitely Malcolm X. Like I feel like that for sure. I've always wanted to because I read his autobiography and that and Asasha Shakur's autobiographies like changed my life. Like those two books helped me because like, along with like American Gangster, Graduation, and those two books were like because I heard the albums before I left school. Then I came home, I was finding myself again, and I listened to those albums, and I felt like someone saw and knew everything I had experienced, understood, because Malcolm was so much layered than what again, if you're not reading these people's work, if you're not reading what people are saying, if you're not watching, it's you have whatever characterizations, right? Like they just minimize Malcolm's movement, Martin Luther King. They minimize them and put them in two separate categories and make you choose all this stuff that these false dichotomies that don't really exist. And when I read his book, I felt like I felt a closeness, and I felt like somebody, and I watched him evolve in his book because it's his autobiography, it's his life. And you see how his, his views have constantly evolved, and he changed, and the compassion he had, and just how ahead mind state, his mind was, and how so many things he talked about in that book are still relevant today. I would love to just have a conversation with him and talk to him, and try to like really, because I feel like certain things have been lost, because we don't have, like, if you talk about people with their movements, it's because of whatever happened through those decades, we've lost all these leaders. And it's like now when people try to, it's like everyone's trying to start on their own versus like the groundwork a lot of times is kind of lost in the shuffle. And so that's something that's big because he's always been somebody I admired, and I would have loved to be able to just have a conversation and kind of pick his brain and stuff like that, because yeah
Yeah.
so yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's just epic right there. And that's why I say don't stop dreaming. You know, the dream may change, the subject may change, but as long as you just keep dreaming, you keep finding things out, you keep figuring it out, you learn, you as you were talking about, you learn from your experiences, you find people, you find your tribe along the way, how you found your mentors, and even homies you grew up playing ball with, and people in your neighborhood, and people that have supported you with music, like they're all part of your tribe. And you find those people when you're pursuing things that are important to you, that matter to you. So it's just dope to hear that you never stopped dreaming. Maybe you shifted your neighborhood of where you were dreaming. Okay, I'm not going to be dreaming in the basketball hood. I'm going to be dreaming in the hip hop hood. But you just kept dreaming, and you just constantly kept figuring it out and learning more about yourself. Here we are, man. I'm excited about it. And for anyone out there, my guy right here is a perfect example of someone who just never stopped dreaming, and he's still going to this day. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say too, again, for just in terms of, for anybody, like something that helps me again is like we I think focusing on the wrong, like we focus on the wrong things. I know, like, again, because social media and internet and everything it's important, it plays a role, it's tools, but we just got to be careful about evaluating things based on what other people's projections are. And again, your dreams matter to you. Like, it doesn't matter, like, you should dream and you should have these goals based on what you want, not based on what you think you should want or what you should need. Because trust me, it's hard being like an independent rapper when there's a lot of the punchlines, right? Like, people are like, oh, SoundCloud rappers, this, that. There's such a miscat, like, people, because everybody always got something to say about somebody. And it's easy to feed into that, to feel insecure, to be like, when you're whatever else I do on the side, or it would lead with whatever. But like, to have that confidence, like, no, I'm a rapper, I'm an artist because I'm proud of what I do. And I think, so whatever your dreams are, be proud of those things and do it for you, not based on whatever expectation. Because the reality is, when people go online, everyone is only showing you what they want you to see. So it's not an indictment on you to not be where you want to be at the moment, or whatever. It just matters where you want to be, like what it is that you want to do, because people are only going to show you what they want to show you. And I think that's like a big thing for me, is like just confidence in knowing what I want to do and what my dreams are and what I believe in. And I really hope that that's something that people lock into, whatever it is, because look at, like, you see people with Twitch and all these streaming things now that are blowing up off of video games. And people would have been like, I remember, everyone when I was younger talking about, oh, give up games because you're getting older. What you playing video games for? Girls would be talking about, oh, I don't want to date guys who play video games. There are people making 6 figures playing video games now. So it's like, you're not going to date this guy because he plays Call of Duty and he's making money playing Call of Duty. Like, so yeah, like, that's a big thing for me. It's like, just really evaluate why you're doing things. And if you're doing it for you, stand on that and believe in that. And don't let anybody shake that from you, because, you know, this is what you want. And that's only, whatever success, and let that define your success, not let others define what success means for you.
real talk, I love it. So where could people find you? They could follow your journey. They could be ready when the project's about to drop. Where could people get you?
Yeah, so I have so basically my social media, my Twitter, Instagram, YouTube is civil_ny. And then my TikTok is Ilio Snow. I got on the TikTok wave with all the young folks because I'm gonna I'm doing a little bit more with my Ilio Snow stuff on there. So I'm experimenting a little bit more. So, Ilio Snow on TikTok. And then my website is civiljustus.com. So it's like, justice for us, justus.com. And I'm likely gonna do like a deluxe type thing for my project. And that's gonna be exclusively through the website. But streaming, it'll be available on the streaming sites, all of them, Apple, Tidal, Spotify, all of that. I'm gonna, make sure something is on there. But you can find me at Civil on there.
So, so for everyone out there, we've been dreaming for the evening, but remember, we don't stop here. We just keep dreaming, and my boy dropped plenty of gems for you. You could probably cut this up into a bunch of samples for your next project of everything that he was dropping for you. Drop bombs on a lot of the gems he was sharing. Um, you know, living testament to someone out there that just keeps going out there and making it happen. So as I said, go out there and make it happen. Write your dreams in pen, and if you fall, get up again. As simple as that. As crazy as life gets, just you got to just keep hitting the bag and brick by brick. So everyone out there, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. So that's it for the night. Don't stop dreaming.